So if you're the Obama administration and you've just been informed of this massive leak of government documents, how do you respond? Well, you respond first, of course, by condemning the leak. That's what White Houses do. But then by trying to minimize the important and ultimate impact of these documents. And the way the Obama administration has chosen to do that is to stress that these documents are totally outdated, that they're years old. The first response from the administration came from National Security Advisor General Jim Jones. He released a statement that read, in part, quote, "The documents posted by Wikileaks reportedly cover a period of time from January 2004 to December 2009. On December 1st, 2009, President Obama announced a new strategy, the substantial increase in resources for Afghanistan, precisely because of the grave situation that had developed over several years." That sentiment, that this is old news, was echoed today by White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs.
In terms of broad revelations, there aren't any that we see in these documents. And let's understand this. When you talk about the way the war is going in Afghanistan, the documents purportedly cover from January 2004 to December 2009. When the president came into office in 2009, he in the first few months ordered an increase in the number of our troops.
A little later in the day, the State Department made sure to hit on the same note. Quote, "These are in many cases documents that are several years old." Ditto Democratic Chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Ike Skelton, quote, "It is critical that we not use outdated reports to paint a picture of the cooperation of Pakistan in our efforts in Afghanistan. These leaked reports predate our new strategy in Afghanistan." In the past 24 hours or so, it's been a full-frontal, unified PR effort from those in power to try to downplay these documents, to say, this is all in the past. This is why we decided to change strategy. Everything is new now. These documents don't reflect the current reality on the ground. That's what the administration and administration supporters in Congress have tried to do, to say essentially these documents don't matter that much. The problem with that argument is evident in dispatches coming from the ground in Afghanistan, not in 2004 or 05 or 06, but right now. Earlier this month, of course, Rachel traveled to Afghanistan and laid out a number of on-the-ground challenges that exist there, challenges that are echoed in these year-old Wikileaks documents, like, for instance, making sure that U.S. money winds up in the right hands, or making sure that local government officials and police aren't seen as feckless and corrupt. Those are the challenges in 2010, not 2004. So the question is, how much does Afghanistan right now exhibit all the structural problems that surfaced in these documents? Joining us now is independent journalist with Big Noise Films, Rick Rowley. He just returned from a 6-week trip to Afghanistan where he's embedded with a Marine division in Marja. Rick, thanks so much for your time today.
It's great to be here.
So obviously you've seen all the pushback from the White House, and I guess the first question is it different? I mean, you've gone to Afghanistan several times, I think, over a period of time.
Yes.
Are the main things that we see surfacing in the documents, are those really stories of the past and everything's different now, or is there a lot of resonance?
Well, I mean, first of all, we need to look at how shocking that is to say that this is the fact that it's old news means it's irrelevant. These documents prove that the U.S. military has been whitewashing the war since the beginning. They've covered up civilian casualties, they've covered up successful insurgent attacks and downplayed their significance, and they've covered up the violent criminality of the security forces that we've created that are preying on the civilian population and turning the civilian population against us. But, you know, and that also being said, the situation on the ground that I saw in Marja was an Obama surge that had been completely derailed. The administration's line right now is that these documents are from Bush's war. Obama's war began 1st of December. Well, Marja was supposed to be the poster child of the point of impact for Obama's surge, for the new Obama war, and it has proven to be what General McChrystal called it in one of his more candid moments, a bleeding ulcer. There are 2 Marine battalions there that have been pinned down for months. They're unable to bring security. When I was embedded with the Marines, we couldn't take roads with vehicles. We couldn't even walk on footpaths because of all of the IEDs and roadside bombs. We walked through the middle of fields, and once you got between 1 and 3 kilometers outside of the radius of a forward operating base, we came under fire. It came under people were taking contact every day. That's on the military side. The political side is even worse. General McChrystal hyped a lot the government in a box that was supposed to roll out. This is the centerpiece of counterinsurgency, that the Marines come in and clear, and then we move in with a civil administration to fill the gap and build the government there. Well, the entire government in a box failed to deploy. It deserted. There were supposed to be, from the mayor down to, one imagines, secretaries, trash collectors, whatever, assembled in Kabul. None of them came to Marja except for the mayor, a man named Haji Zaire, who is an Afghan expat who lived in Germany for years, went to jail for 5 years in Germany for attempted murder. That's the man who we chose to be the mayor of Marja, and his role is confined to being helicoptered in by the Marines to sit in front of a meeting and helicoptered out when it's over.
You mentioned the security forces, and one of the documents I saw today that was really stunning to me was an incident report about basically the Afghan security forces and the national police getting into a firefight with each other. How kind of endemic is this kind of turf warfare, actually open armed combat? How reliable are these two different national forces that are being trained?
Well, I mean, as problematic and awful as that engagement is, it would be great if it were that simple, if it was just the police against the army. But it's not. It's the police and the army and a half a dozen other kinds of armed forces that are all organized around different sorts of loyalties. We made a piece about a tribal militia that was formed, the Shinwari, in eastern Afghanistan, where, with disastrous effects, the U.S. military gave $1 million in aid to support a tribe that said it was going to fight the Taliban, but then turns around and opposes the governor of the province. There's the AP3, the Afghan Public Protection Forces, which are local militias under another initiative that they're creating in Afghanistan. There's local warlords who, like General Dostum in the north, who operate under completely different terms, who's now become the chief of staff of the army. So it's a complete mess. We're arming everybody. Anybody who says they're going to fight against the Taliban is being armed, and they all have different allegiances.
I guess the final thing I want to ask here is about this, the civilian casualties that are revealed, and obviously that has been reported, but it isn't hit home. I wonder the degree to which that aspect of it, what the impact, I mean, this is sort of a simple question, but it would seem like that is a huge part of why many Afghanis are probably not super psyched about the American involvement there.
Yeah, it's a huge point. I mean, actually, when I was in Nangarhar province on an earlier trip this year, we arrived the day after a special forces raid hit a small compound. The press release that came out of the U.S. military said 5 Taliban killed, 2 captured. We arrived and we found an entire farm family, all the male members of farm family buried, from the father down to a 7-year-old child. Everyone in the neighborhood said that these guys were just farmers. The 2 people who were captured were just farmers. A riot ensued where they marched down to the police headquarters and tried to burn it down. They broke the windows. They smashed it up. The next day, the military released the 2 prisoners without comment, without charge, without any explanation. So materially on the ground, not only is it a humanitarian crisis that the civilians are dying, but it's undermining the war effort at every turn.
Ron Rowley, independent journalist, just back from Afghanistan, and I really appreciate you coming in tonight.
It's great to be here. Thanks
a lot.